dev solution in Innsbruck. He has been working as a developer and as a project manager for several different agencies, as well as being a freelancer, and recently in 2023 opening his own agency. So his topic today is called Surviving WordPress, a developer's guide to building without pain. And let's not waste more time. Let's give a very big applause to Dominik and welcome him to the stage.
Hi guys. As was already mentioned, my name is Dominik, and my topic today is Surviving WordPress, a developer's guide to building without pain. I'm really confident that this will be the best talk today so far, because it's first me, and doesn't waste any time and get right into it. You all might think Surviving WordPress is a bit of a strange topic for a WordPress conference, but if my life with WordPress would be a movie, then this would be the title. Because my story with WordPress is a bit complicated. And so let's start with my story. So I started as a junior developer in a marketing agency in Innsbruck. And it was one of those agencies who used WordPress to create smaller landing pages. But there was not really a dev team involved. It was just us coding some websites. And at the beginning, I was a huge fan, because it was like I could just give the website to the customers and they could change whatever they want and they could make it better and better. And this was awesome, because when I started doing web development, it was in school 15 years ago, we used this clunky old CMS called Website Baker, I guess. And yeah, it was such an upgrade using WordPress 10 years later, or 8 years later, something about that. But as we did not have so much structure in our process, it became a bit frustrating, because what we did at the agency, we used WP Bakery Page Builder, some of you might know this, and some standard WordPress themes, and the focus was just on making fast websites for customers. So what we did was cowboy coding, as in Wild West. We just added a little bit of JavaScript to shift the layout here, added an important CSS to make it look beautiful there, added another important CSS way down to override the first one. So, you got it. And this was the whole thing we did. And it was really frustrating working like that, because it was just like, and we managed to get a little bit of a setup at the agency. We improved our setup. We found out new things to build, but it was always a bit. So when I founded my company, I was not so sure if I want to continue working with WordPress, because it always had this little bitterness for me, because I was used to this strange setup. And my way of building was using some kind of JavaScript frontend, some kind of headless CMS, connect those things really smooth. And I really loved the process, but the customers didn't. So most of the time, the customers were used to WordPress and the easiness it provides. And as I am at a WordPress conference, you all know how easy it is to add some features to a website, how easy it is to maintain the website, even if you don't have any idea of coding. And most of my customers are small or medium-sized companies having a little marketing team or only one marketer who really likes to fiddle a bit around. Add a newsletter pop-up somewhere, add a banner when they are on holiday, something like that. And with headless CMS, various headless CMSs, you can't do that without having a developer working on it. With WordPress you can. And so I built my setup. I call my setup my little survival backpack. And this is what my talk today is about. Just to let you know, I don't think this will work for anyone and everyone. It's just my way of building. Try it out. Oh, thank you so much. Tried out various things. I tried out maybe you know some of them. WP Bedrock, I tried out the root stage theme, I tried building with the block editor when it was fresh. I tried building the block editor when it was not so fresh anymore. I tried working with advanced custom fields, what I ended up doing, but I also tried out Elementor. And yeah, let's have a look at my setup and how I survive WordPress, I guess. The timeline will be, we start with get to know me and my story. We can tick that off because we already did that. I just kept that in there because I like productive mornings, and when you have a to-do list and can tick off stuff, it's awesome. So this is the first thing. Second thing is we talk about how I start my projects. Third thing, how I build those projects, how I finish those projects, how I maintain them, and we then have time for questions. So let's start with how I start projects. That's a good start. For setting up WordPress locally, I tried a lot of different things. I think everyone tried out MapXamp or something like that. I tried using a Docker setup, which was a bit too over-engineered for the things I needed. I tried out using a server, but my family is from Pinzgau in Austria, and we don't have that good internet there, so I couldn't use that. And I stuck with local WP. I don't know if you know local WP, but I will show you a little bit. I'm not sponsored, I'm just a fan. Local WP allows me to build websites in WordPress, to start websites in WordPress really fast. Looks like that. And you can create new WordPress websites by just hitting the button, create a new site, whatever.
It's really shaking on the...
Oh my god! So WP Vienna 2025. You can use a custom setup, and this is the first thing I really like, without the need of installing anything else. You can choose different PHP versions. I really like that because sometimes customers have old PHP versions and you need to cope with that. Sometimes you're not sure if it will work on new PHP versions and you will have to install something new. It's all in here. You can choose your web server. Most of the time no issue, but sometimes you have some strange things on Apache or Nginx, and you can choose your database. I just prefer. We will have that problem a little bit. That's a me problem, I guess. So, and when I decide, within around about a minute, you will have a new running WordPress site. I need to add my password. Yeah. And this is quite awesome. And the thing is, I work with freelancers a lot, and I have a little team of my own. And setting up a site so fast is really awesome to us. And what I really like about this thing is it makes my life easier. You will realize throughout the talk that I'm a bit of a lazy person and I like to have my life made easier. So I will show you some things that it does for me. First thing, changing web server and PHP version, we talked about that. Second thing, I know it's not that much of an effort logging into a WordPress website, but if I can just use on-click admin and when I open it, I'm already logged in, it's a little bit better. So I don't need to remember the password or something like that, it's just as simple. They have a tool integrated for database stuff, similar to PHPMyAdmin. You have a lot of plugins you can install, you could use Table Plus or something like that here. And you also have those tools. My favorite ones are Mailpit and Livelinks. Mailpit collects all of the mails your website would send, which is awesome for WooCommerce debugging, when you don't want to clutter your mailbox with all of those WooCommerce mails coming in, for customers, for the shop owners, whatever. And when I use Mailpit, all of those things get collected in this inbox in the browser. You see this? Yeah. And second thing is Livelinks. I like Livelinks a lot because I always have a test server where my customers can have a look at the website. And sometimes customers will have not so good ideas, and I don't want to deploy those ideas. And for example, I'm on the phone with a customer and he or she tells me, yeah, could you make this yellow, it would look better, and I already know this won't look better. I don't want to deploy it, so you can just enable a live link, which is a temporarily live link the customers could visit. Then they will see that it looks bad, and I don't have to work at it. So those are basically the things I like to use here. And last but not least, the blueprints. Blueprints are just snapshots of WordPress websites you did before. And I like to have my starter blueprint. I make one of those every year or two. And you see, it is just like a predefined WordPress setup. You could do all of this with WP CLI and a custom script, but here it's nice. You have a theme enabled, you can use all of those things you want, you can pre-install the plugins, and for me this just makes sense and makes it easy. And I can share all of this configuration with a freelancer or someone on my team. Because, and I now have to do this, you can also export the site. An export will create the zip file, and every person on the planet having local WP installed can just drag that zip file in and it will work. And this is super easy for me. And that's all for local WP. You see I'm a fan, but I will stop now. Let's get back to my project. Second thing I have are theme options. So I will now dive a bit in my theme, which is, you will see a bit of the code, not everything because we don't have time for that. Just to let you know, as always, this just works for me. And if you would do it architectural, computer science correctly, most of those functions in my theme should be in a distinct plugin. But for the sake of working together on a team, and that I like when you are in a coding flow, you can just code away. And if I have a freelancer and I have to tell them, yeah, please use another GitHub repository for the plugin and put it there, it's just a little bit of friction. So all of those things are in the theme. Ideally, they wouldn't be there. And I start with theme options. Those are bigger. Too big. Here. So whenever I activate my theme, or when a theme switches, I have some options that I always need. First, I discourage search engines. It's a bit tricky for switching themes, so don't activate the theme on the live page. But basically, I don't want any Google on my development pages. I set the time zone, I set settings I always do because I most of the time don't have blogs, so we don't need comments that much. I disable that by default, set the language to German, not Austrian, because WooCommerce sometimes has bugs with Austrian, but those are the things my theme does on activation, which is quite handy. Disable avatars, all of those things, that I don't have to talk about, I don't have to think about that on my own. And last but not least, in my theme we have a lot of predefined elements. And what we try to do is, our main goal is to configure as much as we can in the theme and as little as we can manually. You will see that later on. And for all of those things we already have, are those sections that we use quite frequently on website. Collapsibles for FAQs and something like that. CTAs, or action areas, facts, another FAQ, a form, whatever. And as a starting point, we have all of those things predefined, already looking good, because let's say we have a two-call element, it will look the same all the time. We will get into this two-call element in the next slide. So, you already saw the theme. Let's have a look at how I build projects. First of all, we use just plain PHP, no Blade, no Twig, just because I like it more. And we use Tailwind CSS. For a long time we used Bootstrap. Most of you might know Bootstrap. If you don't know Tailwind CSS, it's a utility-first CSS framework. And basically, I will show you in a minute, you don't need to write the CSS anymore. It's done by Tailwind. It has advantages and disadvantages. It looks a bit strange at the beginning, but I found out we are really fast doing that, so that's why we switched to that. So, Tailwind CSS, if you don't know it, is this. That you know, two-call in our business is, also in our company, my company, we call two-call an element with two columns. Most of the time there will be an image or a video or a slide at one and heading text button at the other side, and on mobile they switch and you can configure it where the media file should be. That's what we do most of the time. And I don't want to go too deep in here, but if you're a developer, you might know flexboxes. Doing a flexbox without CSS in Tailwind is just like that. You say it's flex, it is a column on mobile, and on LG or greater it is a row. It has a gap of 25 pixels, or on larger strings 15%. This is just for, we needed that for the project. And yeah, it should be in the center. That's how Tailwind CSS look like, but you can go into that if you want to, not make maps. And in our files, we try to use, oh, it's here, helpers and utilities. So we started to add some kind of another layer of abstraction, if you want to call it, to all of our things we use very often. Example, if we have images, images always have the same data. So we did something, we copied a little bit from JavaScript, from the component-based programming, created a function render component. The DS is not my initials, I'm not that arrogant, it's for the company dev solution. We prefix it that way. And if we call this function, basically it opens the image component. And the image component is just that, it is just an image, but it's everywhere defined like that. And just a little example, we once had a photography company, and they wanted to add tags to all of their images, some kind of hashtags to make the people know what it is. And in normal development, without components, you would need to look for every image and add the text there, which is a bit of work. If you do it component-based, you can just add the text here, and it will be there for every image. What we also did for fetching images, we have a function that fetches the images, and it's basically this one, where we just fetch the image in large. If the customer uploads a really huge image, it won't be output because of the page speed problems. So it's always the media size large in WordPress. You can use any media file size you want, this is just the default. Gets all the data and adds them to an array that is output. As I mentioned, the tags, what we did is we added them here. Fetched tags for every images, we added them to the image in backend, and then put it in the array, and it should be rendered here. We don't have that only for images, we have that for buttons, we have that for shortcodes, for headings, for all of those stuff we use frequently, and it makes it for us a lot easier to maintain our projects. So that's here, yeah. And the last thing, so this is just one part of those helpers. The last thing we have is easy cooperation. And I know this might be a bit, it's just my own opinion, but to me, working together on a WordPress project is a bit tricky. Because you always need to migrate the database. If you configure something, the database there's too much in the WP posts table, maybe it's awesome how it is. You need to change all of that. And if you only want to transfer one or two tables, this is also a bit clunky. So we try to do everything and anything in the theme and to reduce the need of database migrations. Because when I work together in a team, and my colleague is doing the blog things and I'm doing the, homepage, and he takes my database for testing, then all of his blog posts will be gone. And we would need to figure out a way how this won't happen. Maybe we would find a way. I didn't find an easy one yet. If you have one, also, please tell me. But we try to do as much as we can in the database, in the code, sorry, not in the database, by using those functions I showed you earlier. For easy stuff like custom post types, we also have some abstraction added to not have to copy this thing all the time. We just created a function that creates custom post types for us only by needing the post type name, the singular and the plural, and an array with things we often need to change. But we try to, every time something annoys us, we try to make a function to make it easier for us. And that's basically it. So, just my presentation. Here. How I finish projects. So, there are 3 things that I like to work on. The first thing is I try to have a checklist for everything in my survival backpack, because when you have time and you are not in a hurry when going live and there's no one calling you and there's not the last fix you need to do, then you will remember all of those things you need to do. But most of the time it's not as easy and someone will call you and the last minute change and something is here as well. So I try to have a checklist for everything. I can recommend it, just use checklists for everything you do. The second thing, we have a build script in our theme, which means we don't have to install any minification plugins or any compressing plugins. We need caching, of course, but we don't have to do the thing before. Our theme is heavily based on underscores.js, so we have the same production script as they have. It's a bit huge, but when you download underscores, it will be basically the same. It's this one that minifies all of it, compresses all of it, and that makes our CSS look smooth. We also have some kind of pre-processing, but well, I keep using that. And the last thing is going live. Going live is done via Updraft Plus at our end. We use Updraft Plus. If you load a plugin, it's a paid one. We have our own Amazon S3 bucket, which is a server hosted by Amazon. It's quite cheap, that's because we use it. And all of our WordPress backups live there. And whenever we're having a backup for our website, is it on the test server or locally, it will be there. And when we have smaller websites to go live, what we would do is we would just install Updraft if the customer already has WordPress installed on their end. Connect to our backup bucket, backup bucket, and load our backup of the latest version of the test server in. Then use our checklist and remember to remove this set of search engines. Thingy, and yeah, that's everything we need to do. Updraft Plus will do all of the migration for us. For larger projects, we will have to do it manually, but yeah, sometimes you have to do this. And last thing, how we maintain projects, as we don't have as much plugins as we need because we try to use all of our functions manually. We write them in our theme anywhere, so making updates is not that big of a deal. As long as the customers don't install any plugins that are not that good. It's awesome that WordPress now checks the plugins in their library, so maybe this won't happen as often, but yeah, it is how it is. But most of the time, as we prefix everything, our theme and our setup and the functions we provide will work even after updates, so we don't have that many problems in here. When the customers need new elements on the site, we can just do this via theme, configure a new section, just as to-call or whatever, and upload it. For uploading, we have a little script as well, which is this one. It's just a basic script ChatGPT provided, so you can just ask ChatGPT for a LFTP script to upload stuff. But what it does basically is it checks in the theme what files changed, checks on the live server if they are updated and otherwise updated. Normally you would use rsync for that, if you know that maybe, but we don't have SSH for all of our customers' websites, so we have to use FTP here. Yeah, that's that. And that's basically most of the things I gotta say. So, best setup for surviving WordPress for me, my survival backpack, if you want to call it that way, is simple, maintainable and clear. So I try to reduce the pain in my setup, because there will be pain from outside, from customers, from deadlines, whatever. So if there's no pain in the setup, it's a little bit less of overall pain, and that's good. I try to have it maintainable, so to reduce the stress while working. My I believe in if you work as intended, it should work as intended, and I try to build everything in the setup around that, and you should too, because then it's less stress, and working is sometimes stressy, and so this is fine. And the last thing is clear. Imagine if you are in the wilderness and you have your backpack and there's a bear attacking you, and you would have no idea where your, I don't know what you need for a bear attack, where pepper spray or your knife is, that would be bad. And same is here. No need for searching, things are where they should be. And that's basically how we try to build it. Because when I was a freelancer, I hated setting up new projects. Not always WordPress projects, projects in general, where you wanted to work on it, and first thing you need to install a different node version. We needed another server language. There's another package we need. No, we don't have any Docker file that's already configured for you. And having to spend hours to setting up a project is really a pain. So we try to build a really simple, compact thingy that works for us and reduces friction when doing the work. So basically, that's it from me. I hope you have a great conference today. There are a lot of great speakers. Thank you very much for your attention. And if you want to stay in touch, those are my contacts. If you want to talk, chat with me, I'm here the whole day, so let's feel free and have a good day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dominik, for the great presentation. Now, let's open up for questions. Anyone has a question for Dominik right now? Okay.
Throw
in plastic way, they look like a teamwork.
First of all, thank you, Dominik, for the amazing lecture. So maybe I will just ask if so you mentioned that not all of your clients use SSH. So I would like to know why is it the case? Thank you.
Yeah, basically, if a customer hosts with us or with other great hosting providers that provide SSH, it's awesome. But we also have customers using clunky old hosting providers where they don't allow SSH for security reasons. So we need to have an alternative here. It's just like if there would be SSH, we would use it.
Okay, thank you so much for your answer.
Yeah, no worries.
Oh no, the other way. The other way.
How do you deal with syncing content during development? Like you want to set up testing content and actually use the components and pages.
Yeah, that's a bit of a deal. Syncing content is hard. What we do is locally on our machines, we just use demo content, demo images, demo files, and we have a little Hetzner server where we have all of our testing websites. And those are a single source of truth for content. And whenever you want to have real content or change real content or put content in that is relevant for the customers, we can just do it there. And if we need to sync that, we would need to take that to our development machines, most of the time using Updraft Plus as well, because it's the easiest way for us to do it. Hope this helps.
So we also come kind of from the headless development originally.
Yeah.
And we tried once to connect to a hosted database and rewrite all of the media files to a hosted copy of the content.
Yeah.
And worked somewhat. There was more fixing of that process than it probably saved us time the other way around.
Yeah,
so
totally.
just keeping a copy and syncing is easiest.
Yeah, that's what we do. But if you anytime find a better solution, just drop me a message, please.
I have a question regarding the front-end development.
Yeah.
So what I saw in your theme is that you're building custom blocks, I guess, when you talk about elements. So you're not using any page builders like Element or anything, you're sticking with Gutenberg, right?
No, not really. What we are using are ACF custom fields. I can show you how we do it a little bit. Having a website somewhere here. No need to log in now. It looks a little bit like that. And we are querying those fields in the front end and then putting them out. I think you had a talk about that 2 years ago
Yes,
about a similar process, yeah?
Yeah, we worked with that.
Yeah. That's basically what we do. We don't have any page builder logic in the backend for our customers. They don't have any visual preview, which is sometimes good, sometimes bad, but that's the process we use.
And my second question is, do you see any disadvantages using table and CSS? Because I find it sometimes a bit complicated. Instead of using one little class that is being reused on the website, sometimes on my website, what the agency builds, they're using this like huge lines of
You can
CSS.
combine them.
Yeah, I know, but they didn't, so it's very, yeah. Do you see any disadvantages?
Yeah, so for me the disadvantages are the classes get really long. You can combine them, that's what we try to do for reused things, but of course it's a bit clunky. And the second thing is sometimes when I need to change something on a website, I'm a bit annoyed that I can't just go in the code and just change the number because we always need to compile it or build it because we only use the classes we need. And if we change a class and it's not needed anywhere, we need to build it again. This is sometimes a bit annoying. These are the two disadvantages I have.
I noticed you mentioned a system called local BP.
Yeah.
WordPress. Do you have a defined configuration like PHP version, database version or something that can be transported from one computer to the other if you work with other people on the same project?
Yeah. If I hit the export button here, I should do it anyway. It creates a zip file. The zip file contains a configuration file, and if I would transfer the zip to you, and you drag it into local WP, you will have the same configuration as I have.
Can you use Git for that? So
Sorry?
Can you use GitHub? So can you use GitHub as well to transfer and update? So I update my local site and then I put it on Git and someone else pulls it and it updates their local.
To be totally honest, I did not try that out because it just provides a zip file. Could use it, I guess, but as we most of the time only change the theme, we just use the theme GitHub. Maybe you could, I'm not sure.
If you write a shell script that goes from Git and then imports it into the...
Yeah, I think this might work. This could work. We would need to try that out. Maybe we talk about that later.
I mean, I've never used this kind of setup, but I'm interested in trying it out. I also like to make things painless. So.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. We should talk about that when you try it. Thank you.
Any more questions?
Are we just in time, right?
Just in time. So, Dominik, once again, thank you for the presentation. Here is a gift from WordCamp for you.
Well, thank you very much.
And I hope everyone enjoyed this presentation. I sure did. So, please, one last round of applause for Dominik.